Hey everyone, welcome back to Funny Money. My name's Caleb Guilliams.
I'm Dominic Syracuse.
And we're gonna bring you absolute fire when it comes to financial content, but the hope is that you can laugh along the way. And
Yes.
Dom, in this video, I'm gonna talk about our 4 principles.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to learn the 4 principles. Here's how it's gonna work. Is you're going to teach us the most fire financial advice on planet Earth, and what's going to be funny is everybody's going to laugh at how little I know about any of this stuff. When you said 4 principles right away, I was like, I have no idea what these are. I thought I was going to go through some kind of mythical training.
No, so literally, you guys, he has no clue what we're going through. This is not scripted.
Yeah.
And it's intentional that way because I feel like you could be a rocket scientist. We talked about, being super, super smart, but if you can't articulate, you can't teach in such a way where people, I'll just pick on you.
Who are not rocket scientists.
Or not necessarily get this whole money thing, have made mistakes. And if you don't know Dominic's story, go back to our original video on YouTube and watch it because it's an incredible story and it will share with you the heart of why we're doing this. But man, I want you to not only get it, but I want you to be able to teach this.
I'm so excited. Yeah, for those of you who this is your first episode, the abridged version is Caleb is the financial guru, and I'm an actor and stand-up comedian. Caleb and I met, and he said, "Hey, you're far too talented to not be super successful, and financial education is really what's been holding you back." So this is the process you're going to watch firsthand of Caleb transforming me from a starving artist to hopefully a well-fed artist, a satiated
a more
artist.
Plump,
a more plump.
All right, so let's go to the drawing.
Okay, here we go. I just got trained on this. Watch this. First lesson Caleb taught me. Are you ready? Boom!
All right.
And wait, where did we go? Right there.
Sweet. Okay, so you can see us in the corner, and so Dom, when we're talking about money,
yes,
I think so often people make this stuff so complicated. Mm-hmm. We don't even have a framework on where everything goes.
Correct.
And so I am going at the end of this video. No matter if you're broke, like Dom,
like me,
or whether you're super, super wealthy, the 4 principles apply to your life. And I don't want to talk about how to leverage savings. I don't want to talk about the and asset. I don't want to talk about anything. Right. We don't understand the framework, how this goes. Yes.
So real quick, before we start, if I may, this is the way my mind works with money.
Okay. This is good.
Okay. This is my brain. I have a big nose, so that's my nose.
Yeah.
And then here's me. Okay, and then I have a little floofy hair. That's okay. Here we go. Okay, so this is Dom. All right. Now, here's how Dom sees money and thinks in his brain, I don't have that. And then there's this disconnect about how to get it.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at right now. I just want everyone to make sure that we're on the...
I'm so self-conscious now with my bad drawing. That is so good. I mean, all right. So, 100%. It's money, where do we even begin? And I want to really talk about money in such a way where you can understand it. Okay?
Please.
So principle number 1, and by the way, no pressure. I taught 2 of my younger friends this, and they had a clear understanding, and it changed their life. So I'm up for the challenge. Okay?
All right.
Because they didn't have to unlearn some bad habits that you have to unlearn.
Okay.
So principle number 1 is all about you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So when we think about money, a lot of times we go back to your drawing. You're thinking about it being something that you can't even control. You have no power over. It's something that it's not even close to who you are. But we want to take a step back and we need to get clarity.
Right.
We have to understand a couple things, and we'll break this down. The first thing is the most important person in this equation is you.
Okay.
If money isn't going to better your life, what's the point?
Right. I hear that.
Okay.
I hear that, yeah.
The second, other big problem is a lot of times people watching this, and I would even, put this on you, is a lot of people don't know what they want.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, I've never had the. I've always known what I want. I've never necessarily known exactly how to get it.
Okay.
Or I've just assumed that it would come magically one day.
Okay.
Without,
Right. So the first thing that I do when I sit down with people is I want them to get super, super clear on who they are, become self-aware, and become clear on what I call ROR, which is return on result.
Oh, okay.
And return on result is essentially what results do you want? And then we're going to spend this whole time figuring out how to use our time and money in a way to attain that.
Oh, I love it.
ROR in the financial world stands for rate of return.
Rate of return.
The problem with that is rate of return doesn't really mean squat to you at this point.
Right. I've got nothing coming in, so I've got nothing to return.
Right. So one of the things that we want to get super clear is we want to answer this question. If money was not an issue at all,
yes,
what would you be doing?
I would be working on my craft. I would be just auditioning all the time. I would be teaching acting. I would be doing stand-up. I would be spending more time with my son.
Okay, why?
Because that's what's important to me. That's what fills my soul.
Yes. Yeah. So you are in touch with what a lot of people don't even have a clear understanding of is what your sole purpose is. You realize that you come alive and you make other people laugh, and people's lives are better, and you are a better person when you're able to be in your element.
Right.
And
absolutely.
So if we created a financial situation where you would be able to do what you love?
Yes.
And not be broke?
Yes.
Like that's the metric.
That's the goal, because for my whole life up until this point, I've always felt like I had to choose one or the other. I always felt like I had to choose doing what I love and being broke, or sacrificing and doing something that I wasn't in love with, but that's what pays the bills. Right. And so the idea of blending those two things is the ultimate. I mean, that's I feel like you won life. Yeah, if life is a video game, then you won.
Totally. And the problem with the financial service business is we don't start with the individual. We start with the money. We look at, why did you do this decision? Why did you pay off your debt? Or why did you go to college? And we're looking at all these things out in the world, the decisions you made, but we're not going at the core of who you are.
Right.
The other thing that I want to talk about is what are you good at? What are you bad at?
Right.
It's becoming self-aware because, and this is, I'm glad you said this in the first video that we made, you said you didn't even know what an asset was.
I had no idea. Like I said, I thought Caleb was swearing at me when he told me that I was a big asset.
An asset
You're an asset.
You're like, careful, young man.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a boy. But essentially it's this, an asset is something of value, and when you think of when people think of assets and you think of net worth, and if someone has $1 million net worth, that means they have assets, they have retirement accounts, real estate, they have things of value that if they paid off all their debt, they would be worth over $1 million.
Got it.
Now another form of an asset is when Robert Kiyosaki in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad says if you buy assets, they should be able to give you income. Okay. What's interesting is what gives you what brings in money right now?
As far as
it's like, what's the number one thing in your life that's bringing in money?
It's my job.
It's your ability to work.
Exactly.
Okay.
Precisely.
And so we want to understand it, and so this is one of the things is if you're making, and let's just make up a number, but like in LA, you're still in poverty if you're making $50K.
Let me put it to you, like, I'll be more real with you. They just put out the numbers, and they said that the poverty line, as in you qualify for food stamps if you make less than $90,000 a year.
In LA?
In LA.
Wow.
And actually in San Francisco it's worse. In San Francisco, your household income has to be above $120,000 a year, or you qualify for food stamps. That's how expensive the cost of living is.
So and this relates to whether you live in LA or whether you live in Washington, or whether you live in Wisconsin, is you ultimately we have to look at what are your skills, what are you good at, what do you want to do, and how can we increase your value? I sat down with Dave Meltzer, and that's on my podcast, and he talks about money following value, but he said it's quantitative value. You have to be able to quantify the value that you're bringing into the world, and it has to be value to someone else to trade money for value. This
is what's so interesting, because, like, let me put it to you like this, right? As far as I always thought that my value, when you said, you have so much value, that was qualitative. I could show you, I could be funny, I could be pleasant to be around. But if you were to just look at me on paper, as far as what my monetary value is, I'm about this big. This is me This is Dom's monetary value right here.
Right.
As compared to, what I feel you've seen, which you're like, no, it's so much more than that.
So
right?
when the first thing, and I want you guys to know this, in the money space, one of the first things that we did is I wanted Dom to take a step back and say, listen, what do you want? We got super clear on that.
Right.
And then we started looking at, okay, what are you good at? We started brainstorming, what are different paths? And what was going on in my head is, how can you show up today with your time and your money, which was non-existent. Your money was not really existent. So the best thing that you had is your time and your abilities.
Right, and what's funny
gifted.
is my time wasn't existent either.
Yeah, because you were on the rat race.
Exactly. I mean, it was to a point where in order to meet that high cost of living in LA, my dreams, what I was good at, what I was talented at, I wasn't even able to do because I had to work 4 or 5 jobs. Literally, I would wake up at 5 in the morning. I would get home at midnight, 1 in the morning, doing everything from driving a car for this company and going and doing this odd job for this company and whatever. Anything I could just to still be in debt. Just to take that amount of money I made, throw it in the fire of my debt, and then,
Yep.
That was it. That was the life.
You're the ultimate slave to the system, and it breaks my heart. And so, I don't want to beat this into the ground, but the first thing that I want to do is, in principle number 1, it's all about you and it's all about clarity. If we don't have clarity on what's actually going on, what we're good at, what we're not good at, where our situation is, if you're not self-aware, period, I don't care. By the way, there's a lot of people that should not be entrepreneurs, that you might be trying to start a business and self-awareness says, oh, I actually shouldn't start my own business. I should go work for someone or partner with somebody. So self-awareness is not like I don't like the one size fits all. I don't like you need to be wealthy, so you need to do real estate. No.
Yes.
You just need to be self-aware in what you want and then use your time and money and ability to elevate who you are.
Precisely.
Make sense? Okay.
Precisely.
So for right now, this is how I think about money. We'll give you a smile here. Okay?
Yeah.
You are making money, and our goal is to make you more valuable so that you can make more.
Precisely.
Okay. So the thing that we also have to be thinking when it comes to money is, what are the risks to your whole plan?
Okay.
Let's walk through. What blows up your whole plan right now if something happened? Like, what could happen? There's like two primary things that
Let's see. The one is that, as far as, I've just made my online course and all this stuff. Yep. So the first is that nobody buys, right?
Okay, there's risks to that.
Right, if nobody
let's take it even a step further. Mm-hmm. You die.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would stop things.
Yeah, that would stop things. What if you get disabled? That would hold me back
a little bit.
You get disabled. You lose your ability to speak.
Oh, yeah. If I lost my ability to speak, I think I might disappear entirely.
Right.
I think all of a sudden I'd vanish. That's really what I got.
So the other thing when you think about financial planning and you think about helping people with money, I don't actually like the word financial planning, is you have to understand the ups, but then you also have to be self-aware on the things that threaten your ability to exist and show up. You're 100% right. There's 100% of risk, but the two big ones, especially if you have debt, you have other people like your son and things that you care about, you want to make sure that if something happens to you, that you are, and we're not going to talk about the details at this point, but I want you to know, because you are your greatest asset.
Yes.
Remember, asset is something of value, and we want to bring in cash. We want to increase his ability to create money.
Right.
We also want to protect, if something crazy happens like a death or something crazy happens like a disability, that your whole financial life and all the people that you care about don't go down the drain with you.
Oh, that's great.
Okay?
That's so great.
It has nothing to do with money, and it has everything to do with money, because if you're driving a car, you insure it, because if you get in an accident and you kill somebody and you have a massive lawsuit, it could put you in the hole.
Right.
So you pay a little bit of money for car insurance to protect.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So we got to think, in everything that we do, we want to make sure that we can protect your ability to show up powerfully. Make sense?
Yes.
Step number 1 is all about you.
Yes.
How would you describe this if you were sitting down with someone that wanted to help them with money? The first step, in 2 sentences or a little bit more, is how would you define what principle number 1 is?
Principle number 1 is you. It's all about you, which oddly enough was the thing that most girlfriends got mad at me about. I wasn't bad at this one, Caleb. I'm really good at making things all about me, and apparently that was annoying to previous suitors.
Right. Well, and I could throw it back at you. Were you clear with them? Did they have clarity on what the relationship was going?
Yes, it was very simple. It was all about me, and if they didn't like that, they had to leave. And I'm sure no, I'm just kidding. So the first thing is it's all about you. What are you bringing to the table? What are your skills? What are you great at? And how are you able to generate income off of that? But also, what aren't you great at, right? What are the things that hold you back, that set you apart? And how do we protect you? How do we take those things and...
So a couple words that come to my mind is self-awareness.
Yes.
Clarity.
Yes.
And I also think it's how do you define financial success? If you can answer that and you can know who you are and where you're at, we win. Okay,
Yes.
So principle number 1. Principle number 2 is all about efficiency. Now, you live in LA.
I do.
I live in Denver. You're in the studio.
Right.
There's a couple ways that you could get from LA to Denver.
Yes.
You could walk.
I could.
You could drive.
Right.
You could fly.
Yes.
Or you could take one of Elon Musk's,
right,
rockets.
Hyperloop.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So the end result's all the same.
Yes.
You have clarity on where you want to go.
Right.
But some take you a lot longer than others.
Ah, yeah.
Principle number 2 is all about efficiency. We have to understand when it comes to our money, a lot of people want you to talk about the destination or talk about rate of return.
Yeah.
We need to first look, and part of being self-aware is we need to look at 3 things.
Okay.
The money coming in,
Yes.
the money that you have,
Right.
and the debts that you have, and we need to make you be efficient.
Ah.
Because the worst thing is if you might know where you need to go, Denver, but if you start walking, you can
Right.
walk really hard. You can be super motivated. You can listen to my podcast and get all jazzed up
Right.
and walk a little bit faster. And by the way, it would take you a long time to get to Denver.
Right. By foot. Absolutely.
Or you could be self-aware and look back and say, okay, how can I use my resources?
Yes.
Airplanes.
Right.
Get to Denver a lot quicker.
Yes.
The same thing goes with efficiency. So many people are lacking in efficiency. I don't know if you have any stories or thoughts, but I want to walk through 3 elements of efficiency that if you understand, dude, you're going to be so far ahead of the average person.
Hit me with these.
Okay.
Hit me with them.
So the first part of efficiency is looking at cash flow.
Okay.
Okay. What is cash flow?
That I'm imagining is the flow of cash. I am not a financial expert, but I'm assuming.
Yeah. So another word to say is this could be income.
Yes.
For most people, it's income. For
Yes.
some people that do investments, it could be a combination of income and then investment income that they don't work for. You could call that passive income.
Correct.
Okay. Your cash flow can either go 2 places.
Okay.
We're going to have a whole video separate talking about this, but your cash flow either goes to future self or spent.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so we have to ask the question, with the money coming in, big or small,
Yes.
is this cash flow helping you live the life that you want to live?
Ah.
Because what ends up happening is a lot of people buy dumb stuff.
Right.
They might invest in dumb stuff.
Right.
They might use their money. They might have a financial advisor tell them what to do. But the money that they're using for so-called investment is not actually helping them today.
Yes. Okay, so this is so interesting, especially when you talk about income and all of this, and cash flow. Because before I met you, one of the biggest pieces of advice that you gave me that just changed everything for me is you said you're never going to become wealthy until you figure out how to make money while you're sleeping. Mm-hmm. Now, this was huge because you looked at me, you looked right at me, and you said, I can tell that the mistake you're making is you think you have to be there in person to be making money. Yep. Now, I'm literally going to show you, I'm gonna illustrate for everybody what I did for money in LA. Now, mind you, I'm an actor and I want to act, but the problem is with acting is that you got to audition. So you got to audition to get the part. Now, you're auditioning amongst a million other people and you can get turned down for every reason in the world, but you've also got to invest all this money into yourself for headshots, for transportation, for nice clothes, for acting lessons, so that you're on your ball. But you're not making any money. Yet. So you're just investing in yourself. So in order to do that and pay the high cost of living, you had to have a bunch of jobs. Now, here are the jobs that I had all at one time, okay? The first was I helped people with disabilities. So I helped people, and that was nice because it was flexible. I could actually even bring my son to come with me so I didn't have to pay childcare. So that's what I did literally from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning, okay? Then I had a job teaching acting, and I would go from 10 a.m. to 3, right? And I would go teach here, and then I'd get some income from that. And then on after 3 o'clock, from 4 p.m., this was my favorite, to 6 p.m., I got a job where I dressed up like a ninja. See this? I dressed up like a ninja, because there we go, and I taught little kids, there we go, these little guys here, like preschool age children martial arts. Now, a question that you might be asking is, Dominic, did you know martial arts? And the answer is no. I had no idea, but I'm an actor, so I pretended. And this was actually the most lucrative job I had because it paid about $25 an hour. So I got like nice $50 from that, dressing up like a ninja and using my, listen, I trained at the same school as Robert De Niro in classical acting so that I could dress up like a ninja and teach little kids acting. And then after that, from 6 p.m. to about 10 p.m., I would drive for a food delivery service.
Wow.
Now,
you're working.
This was my day.
Wow.
And then on top of all of this, I'm doing all this. I had to do this every single day just so that my bills, which I'll put here, my bills were still greater than my income.
Yeah.
And I still had to pick one or two bills that I just couldn't pay for the month, which was destroying my credit and all this. And I was doing all this off the principle of going, well, what am I going to do? I mean, I'm literally filling up the entire day with in-person working for all these different jobs, and I'm not even making enough to handle the cost of living.
Let alone, so like, 100%.
And notice I'm also in this equation. I'm not spending any time with my son. I don't have any time to go audition. I don't have any time to go do stand-up. I'm literally working just to owe money and do nothing.
And what's interesting, and I'm glad you mentioned this, this actually belongs in the first part, is because when we talked, it became super clear that the and asset or different financial strategies weren't going to make a big difference in your life if you couldn't maximize the money that you were getting paid. Right. And I see this person, what you just explained, on the hamster wheel making less than what it even costs to live.
Right.
And so the question is, does he need to work harder? No, it's not a work ethic problem. Dude, you work harder than most people.
Right.
6 a.m. to 10 p.m. you're hustling.
Right.
But you're broke because we're not able to utilize, we're not working smartly. And I want to be careful in saying that, because I'm not saying that people that are doing this aren't smart. You're obviously smart. It's like, but it's what Dave Meltzer would say in the interview that we did is you're obviously the quantitative value of you showing up wasn't that valuable. And so he's trying to figure out, okay, I'm gifted. I'm like, how can I increase my value and, quite frankly, make more money? Make sense?
Right. And also, a thing that was so interesting was during this time, like, for instance, this job, my ninja job, which, by the way, I love. Can I just make a shout out? To this day, one of the best jobs I ever had, because I had a wonderful boss. Shout out to you. But the thing was I would get Yelp reviewed. And I had the highest Yelp review in the entire business. Yeah. They were like, "You're our number one guy. You're our number one preschool teacher," and all this, because I used my skills. I was very fun. I was very animated. I was very playful, and the kids just loved me. I ended up becoming the highest, requested teacher. But that didn't translate to more money. Yeah. I wasn't able to go, listen, I'm in high demand, so we're gonna need to bump this up to $26 an hour. No. Right. I was stuck, and ultimately, even though it was a lot of fun, a lot of great memories, and hopefully I was able to help a lot of these little kids in their life, I wasn't able to maximize on the value I was even providing for myself or the company.
So just to clarify, this cash flow has nothing to do with making more money. It has to do once you have it, where it's going.
Got it.
So everything that you talked about, super, super valid, is increasing your value. That's why it's principle number 1.
Right.
But principle number 2 is all about efficiency. Right. And we're saying, once you have your money, once you have money coming in, where's it going? Now for you, it was not going, your cash flow was getting eaten up.
Right.
It became every year or every time it went back down to 0 because you're paying off bills.
Yeah.
And then you have debt.
Right.
We have assets, and the question that we ask a lot of people, and again, this wasn't relevant to you, but let's say, there's people that do this. There's entrepreneurs that are starving. Mm-hmm. They have hundreds of thousands of dollars in a retirement account, but they can't access it.
Right.
That's an example of you understand that would not suit you well.
This was me right here, because when my son was born, one of the first things we did was we got life insurance policies, because if we were to ever pass away, we want to make sure our son's taken care of. Yeah. And then we got his mother had stuff in the market
Yep.
for
It's a perfect example.
one day, and then I had we were doing like a college fund for him, and else, so we were putting in part of the bills. We're putting in this massive chunk of money to protect us and set be safe for our son, but we couldn't access it.
Hit the one. I want to be direct to the camera.
Yes,
this is a perfect example. This is a perfect example when this was not scripted. Perfect example of what most people are doing. They're literally struggling through life. They're trying to do the right thing. Pay college fund, 529 plan. Okay?
That was it for my son.
Do you understand the problem with this? And now this is not a pitch for my book. This has everything to do with we have to understand the flow of money. So for instance, this is a perfect example. Going back to cash flow, we would have analyzed you and we would have said, dude, you're barely making ends meet. Why? How much money were you putting towards your kid's future college?
Oh my gosh, we were putting like $400 a month.
Okay, perfect. $400 a month.
Right.
That would be money going away. So in efficiency, dude, go back to $400 a month. Going back to efficiency, we would say, dude, this $400, I get your heart in that, but you can see right now that was not efficient. Not
at all. Not at all. And I'm also putting money into like a retirement plan I set up. Right.
Oh, I love this. This is beautiful.
Right. I'm putting money. I was putting on top of that. I was putting an extra $150 of this. So I'm working my butt off just to take money. That was part of the bills, right? It's like you throw it in this thing, and they're like, okay, you can touch it in 7 years. So you keep busting your butt for 7 years, and then you at that point you'll have enough to. And at the end of the day, what I would have used it for if I wouldn't have learned everything you've been teaching me was probably just to pay off the more debt.
Which, by the way, we will see. And the third area is looking at your debt.
Yes.
And by the way, you had credit card debt, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what you are doing is you are locking up money, maybe earning 5, 6, 7, 8%.
Right.
Not having any control over it, feeling broke, and incurring a massive debt of a way greater rate of return, guaranteed. Meaning there's no market volatility. It's like 21%, which, by the way, you're not going to make consistently in the market.
Yeah, right.
Do you see the problem in that?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense why we talk about efficiency? So first of all, this is beautiful. I didn't even know that you were investing like that.
Yeah.
That ticks me off.
Really?
Okay?
Yeah.
Because you are barely making ends meet.
Yep.
You're not spending any time with your family.
Right.
You're trying to do the right thing by investing in your retirement, which is probably squat nothing right now. And you're trying to do the right thing for your son, college education. So your money's going there. And so the first thing that I would notice is, dude, let's highlight that and say, if we could use that cash flow in a better way for your son's college and to serve you now, would that be better off?
Absolutely.
For instance, paying off debt, that money should have went right into debt.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We would have looked at your assets and said, okay, you have a retirement account, you have a 529 plan. Let's just say you had a car, whatever.
Yes.
We say, are these assets best showing up in your life now? And for instance, if you got clear on this is what you want, and I'm seeing that you have a 401k, and I'm like, dude, I would just encourage you. I would just highlight that and say, in efficiency, I'm getting fired up right now. In efficiency and in optimization, is this the best thing that's going to help you live your results? And you would have said no.
Right.
You just were told that's what you need to do.
I thought that was me being responsible.
100%, and I commend the work ethic. But that goes back to we can work harder. You couldn't work harder in this scenario.
No.
It's all about efficiency. And then you had debt.
Yep.
You want to talk a little bit about you have credit card debt.
Are you ready for this? This is gonna drive you nuts. Okay, so listen, this is one of my favorite things, talking to Caleb about my poor financial knowledge and decisions in the past, because I'm hoping, if you can, when I tell you the story, he has not heard this story, I would like you to just look in the camera to get the reaction of this story. Okay.
Yep.
So. Let me tell you. So
turn it back.
Yes, here we go. So maybe I'll just tell it like this. So I had like I said, I supported people with disabilities, and I had one friend who was actually very financially well off, very, very set because of his accident.
Yep.
And I started living with him. I moved in to take care of him full time, and he learned about my financial situation. At this time, I will switch over now. At the time, I was in, and I'm going to just roll this down, if that's okay. So I was in about 10, is this working? Did I use the other side? Yeah, there it is. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm scratching your thing up. Okay, so I was in about $10,000 worth of credit card debt, okay? Which, with my income, that number might as well have been $150 billion. Because there's no way I could pay it off.
You had no money at the end of each month.
At the end of each month. So here's what he did. he came up to me and he said, Dom, you've done so much for me. I want to help you out. I want to give you a check for $10,000. Okay? I want you to pay off your credit card debt. That's what he said to me. And I said, okay, great. That sounds really, really kind. And that would be really helpful for me. And he said, the reason is because you're getting a ton of interest on that. And he's like, instead, I'll give you $10,000. You just pay me back the $10,000 rather than having to pay back all this interest. Now, I didn't know what any of that meant. I just thought he was paying off my debts for me. So here's what he did. He gave me $10,000 to pay off my credit card debts, right? So my debt went down to zero. Now, a rational human being at this point would go, great, I can pay him back and I can, but you know how I looked at that? I looked at it as I have $10,000 on my credit cards.
No way.
Yay!
Oh,
so
no.
what I did.
Oh no!
Hang on, let's get this reaction.
You're giving me anxiety, dude. You're giving me anxiety. I'm like, my heart pressure is increasing right now.
So here's what I did. I got the part about investing in myself. What did I say? I'm an actor, and I want to act. This is what I want to do. So here's what I did. I said, with $10,000, that's about 3 months of my bills.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's about 3 months of my bills. So what I did was for 3 months, I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my credit cards to pay all of my bills, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to audition as much as I can. I'm going to get out there as much as I can. I'm going to do all this. And here's the best part. It actually paid off because I got a job as at a nightclub doing stand-up. So I got a job at a nightclub, and they were going to pay me $1,000 a week, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, great, I'll take the $1,000 a week, and I can use that money to pay back the credit cards, and everything will be good, and life will be good. This worked out in my favor, right?
Yep.
Then guess what? 2 weeks before the nightclub was supposed to open, it got shut down because they didn't have the right permits.
Wow.
So now I'm getting zero money. And I went from owing $10,000 in credit card debts to owing $20,000 because I owed my buddy 10 and now an extra 10,000 in credit cards. So now I'm trapped. None of it worked out. And my answer was, well, I got to work more. Yeah. So I got to get an extra job. So on top of all those jobs I just showed you, I also got a job doing overnight shifts.
Oh no, dude.
At a nursing home where I was able to go in and work overnight. So there was literally a point in my life for about a year and a half where I was getting a total of about 2 hours of sleep. Yeah. And that was, once again, just to pay off my debts and debtors.
I just also want to go back to this. You were, at that time, you were investing in a college plan and retirement.
The whole time, part of the bills that I had to pay on top of the debts I was already in was I had my son's college plan, I had my retirement plan, we had his son's mother's, 401k that she was investing in, and all of this. And also, I mean, like, on top of that, I was thinking, how does anybody save money?
Yeah. Yeah, and I, by the way, I want to commend you for your work ethic. I want to commend you for how hard you're working and even investing. And maybe someone would say, great job, you are investing for your future. When we come down to efficiency, dollars and cents,
yes,
you were getting crushed, dude.
Destroyed.
Your money was like, you were working so hard for your money, and you were putting it in places that were working against you. We call this headwind. So not only are you working hard, but what you're doing with your money is headwinds,
right? And
it's just harder for you to get ahead,
right?
So one of the first things that and I'm making this up as I go along here.
Yes.
One of the first things that we do is like, okay, let's take this headwind away.
Oh, how'd you do that? That's nice.
This is the button right here.
Woo!
Okay. So one of the things is like, how do we help your cash flow actually help you? If you would have met me,
yes,
I would have helped you create a debt payoff strategy with your cash flow.
Right.
So we're taking this debt strategy.
Right.
We'd stack up your debts, and we're gonna have a whole video dedicated to this.
Right.
We're gonna take your cash flow. We're gonna pay off your debt, and then when you pay off your debt,
right,
all the money that we're going to debt would go to you. Would go to assets,
right?
But these assets would be way more flexible and would be way more in control. So ultimately, remember, this is the metric, not to retire at 65.
Right.
The metric is to live the life that you want to live.
Absolutely.
Make sense?
Absolutely. Yes.
It's like it's not complicated, you guys. I haven't talked one thing about products yet.
Right.
It's all about the common sense of there's 3 things that we can talk about. Once you get clarity on what you have money coming in.
Yes.
You have a moral responsibility to account for where that money's going.
Yes. And I want to, real quick, I want to just go to how just being around you has helped my life. Because look, so this is the world I was living in. And then I meet Caleb, and Caleb, I'm gonna let me draw you. This is you. This is you. Hang on.
Try some muscles.
This
here.
is you, yeah, with your cool fancy haircut. Hang on, like that. And you're always super smiley. So this is you, and you're this. And then you go up and you meet Dominic. This is Dominic down here. He's got a really big head and a floofy haircut. There we go. And you're like, you're talented, and I'm like, thanks, I'm broke. and Caleb goes, let's fix that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so I go, okay. And then he says, here's what we're going to do. What do you love? And he already said, you excel at comedy. You excel at this kind of thing. Here's what I want you to do. And then instead of me working from 6 a.m. to literally at times, 4 a.m. the next day, doing all this stuff that's not what I love, you help me first dedicate my time to doing what I love.
Yep.
Right? Doing what I love and generating money off of that. So then I started making money off of that.
Yep.
And then that didn't just clear up money, it also cleared up my time.
Right. Yeah.
But here's the biggest thing that it did, talking about mindset. This, very simply, we're going back to me here. There's me.
I have to ask a question. Are you still paying for your son's college?
I do still have a college fund for him. Yes.
Are you putting money in there each month?
I haven't in a while.
Okay.
But here's what. So here's me, right?
Okay.
This was my brain at the time. Just like this. Hang on. This is my brain.
Yeah.
This was me because I had no room in here. Everything was a cluster. Every day was wake up and go into zombie mode of hustle, just to make things meet, and I'm deteriorating. And then meeting you, after that, here I am again, and look.
Yeah.
This is my brain. Just a big, so much peace.
Well,
and
I don't know about that. It's more peaceful, I think. But this is what I would say is like, you just got to go back to the basics.
Right.
Like we have not talked anything about products, and I'm actually gonna make an executive decision. We're gonna cut this video short because we'll talked about
part two.
Yeah, part 2 will be the next 2 principles, but I just want to review.
Yeah.
First thing, and we haven't talked anything. Next video, we're gonna talk a little bit about products and about some like how you grow money.
Right.
At this point, so many people aren't able to save any money, and it wasn't that he wasn't able to save, but it was his lack of leveraging himself. Right. So he's on this hamster wheel, working for money and not leveraging his abilities, and just getting no sleep and just dying.
Right.
And then when he was making money, he was putting his money in a place that was not serving him the best. So the principle number 2 is all about efficiency. Principle number 1 is all about clarity. And what I just want you to get away from this, and I'm just so grateful for this because sometimes we don't talk about this.
Right.
And for the certain person that's watching this is going to be like a game changer for them. It's like, what would you do if money wasn't an issue? Get clarity on where you want to go. We have to be self-aware. You might not be able to do that now.
Right.
How do you define financial success? What are you good at? How can we leverage your ability to make money?
Right.
And then look at the money that you have, start tracking it. Look at the assets that you have, which he had retirement accounts that were not serving him well.
At all.
And then look at your debt and ask the question, what can I do with my money now that can help me show up? A lot of people get depressed. There's no overnight decision. Right. But if Dom would have met me 2, 3, 4 years ago, he would not have been in this situation because I would have helped him get clarity and I would have helped him with his money thing.
Yes.
And you would have been working, getting momentum instead of working and just like just like working so hard but not working smart.
Yes, and I have to say this because there is a happy ending. You know, now everybody's seen my crazy financial decisions in the past, the crazy thing I've ever lived or whatever. And you were saying, you know, I'm working this so hard just to be kind of like a slave to retirement at 65. So that I'd work until I got to 65, and then at that point I'd be able to live the life I want to live. If I even made it to 65, if I even didn't work myself into the ground, you know. But I honestly feel now, I kind of joke around with everybody and I say, you know, because of what the secrets you've taught me and because of the strategies and everything, I've been able to do what I love. I've been able to get paid for doing what I love. And I was able to quit my job to go do this full time of just what I absolutely love to do, doing comedy, acting, teaching acting. And I tell people that I retired at 31. Because when I retire, because, you know, you asked the first question, they say, what would you do if money wasn't an issue? And what I would be doing is stand-up, acting, and teaching acting. So instead of doing that, waiting till I'm 65 to start doing that, I'm able to start doing it right now. I mean, last night, when you're watching this, I was able to open up for the Allman Brothers, which is one of the biggest bands of all time, because somebody had seen my YouTube channel, liked what I do, and asked me to come and MC this show. And I mean, this is like a dream come true. That's something that before I would have paid everything I had to do, and now I'm getting paid to do it.
It's humbling.
And so, you know, thanks to these things you taught me, not only am I able to understand who I am and what I want, but I'm able to generate income.
Yep. I want to thank you so much for watching this. Please like, subscribe, please check out his channel. Like, we are trying to rise the tide, like get people to understand this, because I'm telling you, Dom, you have so much to give to the world, and the reason I get passionate, the reason I get in your face is I want to help Johnny watching this right now, or Sarah watching this right now, that's so gifted but feels so stuck. Right. So thank you. Part two of this video, we're going to talk about the next two principles, and I'm telling you, they're a game changer. This guy likes to talk, and I don't want this to be a 10-hour video.
Right. All right. So we'll keep you coming back for more. In the film world, we call that a cliffhanger. So tune in next time to see the other... Okay, hit it.
Let's take me out of my misery.